You got to be strong, you got to be tough, you got to do your job. Whatever it takes to do your job, you got to do your job.
Well, these days, President Donald Trump has taken on the responsibility to tell National Guard troops where to go. Over the weekend, it was reported Idaho will be one of 19 states sending National Guard members to assist with immigration enforcement and crime. There will be a total of about 1,700 troops in this mission. But for now, it appears the Guard members from Idaho will only represent a small part of the mission in an administrative role rather than out in the streets like we've seen in Washington, D.C. The Idaho National Guard saying they will provide 14 people to support 3 ICE offices around the southern part of the state. And they'll do office work, enabling ICE to put more agents in the field and work with ICE staff on support plans, along with tasks like case management and data entry. Now, that is set to begin as early as next week. The Department of Defense has authorized the National Guard to provide support through November 15th. Idaho Governor Brad Little clarified that the mission does not include sending Guard members to places like D.C. for crime prevention, at least not yet. Writing, quote, "As Commander-in-Chief, I am proud that the Idaho National Guard always stands ready to support our federal partners in any capacity that strengthens public safety and national security. Our Guardsmen are trained, disciplined, and committed to serving the people of Idaho and the nation." Now, the National Guard in each state is under the direction of its governor. The Guard itself is administered by the National Guard Bureau, which is a joint venture of the Army and the Air Force under the Department of Defense. There is, however, a provision that allows the president to federalize the National Guard and put it under his control. The first deployment of the National Guard into states for things like crime prevention happened in Los Angeles, and most recently, Washington, D.C. President Trump has also threatened to do it in other Democrat-led places like New York City and Chicago. But this week, the Illinois governor fired back, kicking off a war of words with the president.
The state of Illinois is ready to stand against this military deployment with every peaceful tool we have. We will see the Trump administration in court. We will use every lever at our disposal to protect the people of Illinois and their rights. Finally, to the Trump administration officials who are complicit in this scheme, to the public servants who have forsaken their oath to the Constitution to serve the petty whims of an arrogant little man, to any federal official who would come to Chicago and try to incite my people into violence as a pretext for something darker and more dangerous, we are watching, and we are taking names.
Okay, he went on to call the president a wannabe dictator. And unless you've been living under a rock for the last decade, you know that President Trump is often quick to fire back when it comes to name calling. And that was certainly on display today.
And they're going to fight me. Like this slob of a governor you have in Illinois. This poor guy got thrown out of his business by his family. He's governor of Illinois. And he goes about Trump, we don't need his help. Chicago is the worst. These places are really bad. So the line is that I'm a dictator, but I stop crime. So a lot of people say, you know, if that's the case, I'd rather have a dictator. But I'm not a dictator. I just know how to stop crime.
Meanwhile, back here in Oregon, Governor Tina Kotek told us yesterday the state has received no indication from the Trump administration that Oregon is being targeted for military deployment.
I think it's unconscionable the way the Trump administration has been putting troops in American cities. Crime is not the issue here. It is a show of power and strength. I would prefer to make it very clear to the Trump administration we have local law enforcement who is doing their job, going after criminals, enforcing community safety. We're doing our job. We don't need any help. There is no community safety crisis in Oregon. We are not requesting any help from the federal administration. I have faith in local law enforcement to do their job.
And while we're talking about the federal government, the state of Washington is in the crosshairs of the president's transportation secretary, who is threatening to pull millions in federal money for the state's failure to enforce the Department of Transportation's English language proficiency requirements. Secretary Sean Duffy says Washington, California, and New Mexico have 30 days to comply with an order that he signed in May, requiring the drivers of commercial trucks who don't meet the department's standards to be removed from the road. Now, this comes after a truck driver was accused of making an illegal U-turn that caused a wreck, killing 3 people in Florida this month. Federal officials said the undocumented driver failed an English language proficiency test when they interviewed him last week.
This driver in Florida had received a CDL in Washington, California, and was pulled over in July for speeding, and no doubt couldn't speak the English language. Law enforcement in New Mexico did not take his rig out of service. So this one driver touched all 3 states. Based on our review, they are not complying with our rule. This is not just about saying we have some obscure rule that we want them to comply with, that truck drivers speak English proficiently. This is about keeping people safe on the road. Your families, your kids, your spouses, your loved ones, your friends, we all use the roadway. And we need to make sure that those who are driving big rigs, semis, can understand the road signs, that they've been well trained,